Hi, I'm John and welcome back to my Lair of Action Figures. So today, continuing with some more reviews of the I.Joe Classified series, we're going to be going on to the ones from Vietnam, and this is of course the retro line of figures. So here we have in the retro line the I.Joe Trooper. Now of course you know I love this kind of packaging, I like the idea of it, and they kind of did something that looks like an army builder, and again, it's an interesting thing. But I will be going into more details when I'm going to be having a closer look. You can, if you want to pause the video, then you can have a look. And I want to get into this figure. So of course you have the file card, who's always nice. Like I said, this figure is coming from Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Vietnam. So yeah. So most of the major line is still continuing from China, and the retro lines since Dr. Mindbender and the Viper both came from Vietnam. So that's the thing to know about it. The cards are pretty thick, so it is pretty good that they're continuing with that standard. And of course, we're going to go back to the front. Again, this for me is the most interesting packaging, except maybe over here there's a bit of a crease. I don't know if it's the way that they were folded in the factory for the box, but over here you can see, and maybe see there's a bit of a lump over here, and I think there's a bit of a problem in the way that they're bent, and this is creating some stress on the boxes. So that's maybe something Hasbro would want to look into, because that is a huge problem. So let's talk about history about this figure. Now, in the Real American Hero line, the one from 1982 to 1994, this figure did not exist, okay? Never came out, there was no green shirts, nothing about this figure out there. So I do have a problem about it being called retro, because for me this has nothing to do with retro, this has to do with the cartoon. Because if you really think about it, these guys only appeared in the cartoon, so technically they should be cartoon related. But Hasbro, doing Hasbro and not knowing really the history of G.I. Joe, decided to put this on a retro card. Now, if you really want to do something smart, then Hasbro, you should have put him in the mass device. Now I understand mass device is going to be put towards, of course, Walmart seems to be the one, but not everything. Mass device, because we had, of course, the polar bear and Snake Eyes, who was not an exclusive to Target. So you see, you could have put this in the mass device. It would have made sense, because these guys were in the cartoon and they should have been also added to the mass device line. It makes sense. Mass device equals cartoons. Yeah, that would have been a no-brainer, but yeah, let's not ask too much about our dear friends at Hasbro, because I do have a lot of issues and I will be making a video about it, and there's a lot of stuff that they need to check out. Now, talking about history about this figure, the only time we got some green shirts like this was back in 2008, and this is a box that I haven't opened. And this is one from Toys R Us. It's an exclusive, so you had Firefly and you had 4 different green shirts. As you can see, they were all Caucasian, and what they did is basically we used different heads that we already had. You have a blonde, brown hair, red head, and a kind of I would say chata, so hazel color. So yeah, this is what we got as a set, and we never got anything else. So of course this would make sense, and again this was in the 25th line anniversary line. So yeah, there's all different stuff, and you can see you can put file name, you can put birth of plate. So again, this is exactly saying that one of these guys over here is you. Of course, Hasbro in 2025 decided to grace us with, of course, a Caucasian and an African American version of the figure. I'm wondering, now I'm going to leave it over here, and we're going to have a closer look at everything that comes in this box. So of course, what do we get in the box? We get the figure. So I decided to change. I decided to put the Caucasian Then we get the helmet. Then we get the laser gun. Again, proof that this is cartoon, because this never appeared in the, how do you call it, in the, and the comics. So yeah, this is typically. Then we get Stalker or Duke's weapon. Then we have a pistol. We have a knife. Then we have, of course, the heads to go with the figures. But over here, it's not the right heads that I have. So yeah, there's going to be, I put some other heads here, because that's going to be for later on in the review. So yes, and of course we do have the different hands that come with the figure. Of course we have the fist hands, we have the gun hands, we have the fist hands Caucasian, we have of course the stand that comes with it, and I guess the head must have rolled off somewhere into my lair. So want to pick it up off the floor, so of course you have the African American head over here. So let's start by having a look at the hands. I'm going to finish by the figure because I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So it is nice finally getting some African American hands, fighting ones, because on certain retro cards we should have got the fists, but we didn't get them. So that's a bit of a shame. And over here, as you can see, so that would be pretty cool to be put in with some of the African American figures that we got in the retro line who didn't have it, and goes for the same for the fists that come with the Caucasian version of this trooper. And yeah, that's pretty cool that we're getting this kind of fist hands, and if you're going to army build these guys. And the question is, are they really army building figures? Because you will see there's a little issue that I have encountered, and I really want to have a deeper look into it. So of course you have the hands, who is pretty cool. Then let's go on to the head sculpt over here. Be moving afterwards. Again, head sculpt is pretty neat, as you can see. Let's see. So it's nice to have. Let's see the peg over here. It's a pretty big one, so there's sometimes a bit hard to pull out. But yeah, the figure itself, head sculpt. I mean, Hasbro has done a lot of progress and has done a lot of cool things over the years, and they're becoming better and better with the head sculpts, and they did a pretty good job. Of course, we're not going to go onto the stand. That is something that every figure should be getting. Then we're going to be going into the weapons, and afterwards I'm going to be going to the part where I have the biggest issues with the figure. So here are the weapons. So of course, laser rifle makes sense, cartoon. So yeah, that's there. Again, I'm not going to be talking about it. I think I have 3 videos where I have this gun who's popping up again. And again, sadly, this weapon is oversized compared to the other ones. It's way too big. The pistol is not new. We already have seen it. The knife is already a reuse. And over here, we also have a machine gun, who is the one that is with Duke or Stalker. It is nice seeing that they decided to add some money into it, and the same thing for the pistol and the knife. Silver for the knife, and the regular tan over here. Same goes for the pistol. There's part of the pistol who's a bit grayish, and here goes the same thing for this, for the charger, for the handle of the machine gun. So yeah, it's really nice having it. Now, coming to my issue, of course, is the helmet. Now, if you look at the cartoons, you will notice that every figure in the cartoon, oops, so I'm going to zoom in, okay. So if you look, all of these helmets have the visor, and this is the same one that you get with Starduster, that you get with Duke. So all of these are very similar helmets to the ones that you normally get. And for me, the problem is these should not be included with these figures, because there was no visors. I don't remember seeing visors. They might have had some who had some visors, but mostly everything in the, how do you call it, in the cartoon did not have visors. Same goes for Duke. And as you can see over here, none of the figures over here have visors either. Now, coming on to the figure itself. Now, of course, you can say, but John, why are you not happy about the figure? Well, the figure itself looks pretty decent. It has a lot of reused bits and pieces, but of course that would make sense for Green's shirts. And I like the fact that you get this harness with a flashbang, a knife, even if they're not removable, some ammo pouches. So yeah, that's pretty neat. Over here you have all the pouch over here, not the pouch, the pocket over here. So as you can see, the figure, it is pretty decent, and the fact that it has long sleeves just means that it's more easy to interchange, remove the hands, and then you can just have an African American version of your figure. Or if there would be some extra bits and pieces, you would get, of course, the extra hands and face if you wanted to do something a bit different. So yeah, it does kind of work. Then afterwards you have the holster over here. So again, these are bits and pieces that we have already seen with Stalker, that were used not only with Stalker, with Snake Eyes, Retro. So of course these are a lot of reused bits and pieces, and this is something that you can expect from Hasbro. So you're going to be, but where is your issue? So first of all, as I said, I do have a big issue with the figure itself over here, because we're going to be gearing him up. And of course, what we're going to do, we're going to put the pistol in the pocket. As you can see, it goes pretty deep into the thing. And then you're like, oh, but look, there's a part here. So of course you could say, well, I could take this magazine and put it in there to fill it up. But this is done for a different pistol. That's why for this one goes in so deep and way too deep. And this is to put the silencer into. So again, it's not like you didn't have other figures who had a simple holster to put over there. Could have made sense. You already had it. You could have used it. And if you really look, those legs are nearly the same. Then, of course, which we're going to gear him up. Of course, the knife goes in here. As you can see, it does fit. I believe the knife, the original life would have been longer, but that would be just, let's say, picking around and having a go at it. And of course, like I said, then you should gear him up and put him like this. So now I wanted to talk about, is this figure an army builder, before we go on to giving these guys a final spin and sending them off. And I'm going to give you my note out of 10, and of course, is it a collectible item or not? And as you can see, you're like, wow, cool. So we have different heads, and of course, well, the first one to come up are these two guys. So these are the police officers. You may have already seen the review, or the review will be coming soon. I don't know how. After I have to find it. I maybe have to redo this review for the police officers, because I cannot find the video right now. And as you can see, you're like, well, that would be cool, because they work in the same way. So we could pop on the head over here. Oh, but wait, it's not working. And the reason why, look at the size of the holes. Now, of course, I can hear you say, well, John, you could Dremel them out, or you could try to remove the necks and put them onto the figures, because it would work. But again, then you have problems when you want to put them back with your police officers. They will not work, and you will have to put some putty paste into it to make them hold. And again, Hasbro, if you're telling me you need to save money, how the hell can you not make these match? Again, this would be a huge game changer for a lot of figures, and will make it a lot more easy for army building your figures. Putting them, the heads, the necks, compatible between each other seems to be the basic of any kind of business plan that you would have to go forward on that basic. So again, I don't understand why you do it. And again, the same thing, using bits and pieces. Yeah, no problem. You want to use bits and pieces, you have it on other figures. You could have put this holster on with this pistol instead of this. And I can understand that you wanted to put gold, but you could put gold on these ones over here. It's just mind-blowing how, where you're trying to say you're saving money, but you're not, and you're not even going into the logic of putting the figures with the totality of the accessories that should be coming with it. So now that we have talked about the incompatibility of the head sculpts to go around, who makes it a bit of a shame, let me put these guys up, gear them up, and give them a spin, and I will give you my final thoughts about these figures. So, while we give these two guys a little spin, I'm going to be giving you my final thoughts about this figure, my note out of 10 for these figures, and of course, do I think these are collectible items? Well, to the question of the collectible items, my answer is kind of yes and no. The retro line does have some more fans, but again, if you're a fan of the retro line, you want retro figures and not some kind of stuff who's been thrown in to say, oh, look, we have a retro card that never came out between the years of 1982 to 1994. So yeah, does not really work and does not go with what Lenny was saying about talking about what was supposed to be the retro line, because Hasbro seems to forget their cahier des charges, or should I say, their way of doing things. There are certain things that are done to be qualifying as retro. You have other ones who qualify to be Night Force. You have other stuff, Tiger Force, and I could go on, and Mass Device. So again, this is a part where I would say the fact also that you have a problem of compatibility between the heads, and it's making it pretty hard, or you might have to use some tooling, risk of breaking. Again, this makes it pretty hard. Now, currently for now, I haven't seen any of these guys go for sale. So again, they came out in 2025, with beginning instead of 2026. So this is going to be a hard time to say if these are going to be going in clearance anytime soon. But as we have seen a lot of retros popping up at Ross in the US, from what I've been seeing, Beachheads and some other ones. It would be kind of curious to see if these will follow the same route or not. So yeah, it's a bit of a... This is why I don't really think that they have such a collectible value, due to the fact that they shouldn't be in the retro line. So again, no. If you can pick them up for cheap, you like this kind of stuff, pick it up, just to say you have one, but otherwise they're not really worth much more than that. Of course, this is my opinion. Now, if I have to give a note out of 10 for these figures, yeah, this one is going to be hard. And I think I'm going to be nasty, because the figures themselves look kind of okay. There's a lot of issues that I have with it, but I'm going to be giving these figures a 3 out of 10. Because I know the note seems very harsh and some people may disagree, and we can have a conversation in comment section, but for me, this is 3 out of 10. Again, the compatibility problems between the other Geos is not acceptable. Even with your Marvel Legends, you should be able to interchange. You should also have this possibility to do also with your Star Wars figures. This would make it an easy army builder. The other part I'm not very happy about is that you're giving gear. It is cool that they have a secondary weapon, primary weapon, and of course a knife. That's cool. Your main characters from the G.I. Joe line do not have it. And on top of it, you were so lazy that you went with some older gear to put it on and show it on, instead of giving us the full thing. Like I said, you should have had a silencer over there. I tried to slide in an extra mag in it, but it doesn't hold in place. I would have to put it maybe sideways to make it hold. But again, this is such a disappointment. It looks like something of extremely cheap. The fact of leaving the visors on, I mean, you can leave the holes. The holes were with the original figures. I would say, okay, well, you didn't put the visors. It's not the end of the world. The figures have the hole in it. We know that Duke helmet had holes in it. And that's the way they were. So I have no problem at all, or no issue with it. But again, I think that you went down a weird route. And also the fact of wanting to go with this kind of little shirt on top. I don't understand why you didn't go fully closed, a bit, like the rock and roll figure, with the collar going all the way up to the neck. Interchanging the neck would have made more sense if you wanted to go into a retro line. So I think everything is wrong with these figures. And let's say you would have put them in the mass device, I would have given a higher note because it would have made sense. If, of course, you would have corrected also the other mistakes, like I said, the holster, the knives are not right. But if you would have done a few little changes to make the figures a lot better and to be more logic in going into the direction of what those figures should be, this would have made perfect sense. But for me, these figures are not more worth than a 3 out of 10, and I'm very, very disappointed by what they did over here. And I understand, yes, you can Dremel, you can do all kinds of stuff to fix it. But again, if you want to do something of logic, cost saving, make them all compatible. How hard is that? It's coming from, even if these are coming from Vietnam, these figures should not have this kind of issue because those parts were already used and already done in China. So this is nothing like new stuff that you had come out only for Vietnam. So that's not an excuse who would be valid either. So let me know, did you purchase these? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you think I'm too hard or not hard enough maybe? Let me know in the comments section and let's start a conversation around our favorite hobbies. Let's keep it civilized. We don't need to do name calling. This is not the goal of it. It is to bring a constructive criticism or approval to it, and we don't need to do name calling. It does not make anybody look smarter by doing so. Anyway, this is going to be my review for the G.I. Joe Trooper from the retro line. If you like this kind of reviews, please leave a like, share, comment in the section. If you have any suggestions, let me know. You want to go and check out some cool pictures and stuff that I have for sale and many more stuff, you can go to my Facebook page or you can go to my Instagram page. The links are in the description in this video. And until then, I hope you have a fantastic day. And of course, I will see you in my next video. Bye.